Okay, I call this session to order. Welcome everybody to the meeting of the Extraordinary Parliamentary Committee on amending the Piresian Constitution. I would like to welcome all the members of Parliament who have kindly come here today to evaluate the issue. They're going to have two groups discussing this proposal to amend the Constitution. One group is going to be in favor of the amendment, and another group is going to be opposed to it. The issue, to remind everyone, is whether we can sacrifice prisoner, what's his number, whatever his number is, you don't need to know either, whether we can sacrifice prisoner, or whether we can use the prisoner's blood for the purposes of vaccination against the Bubs 21 disease. And we're going to be hearing from advocates of various groups. They're going to explain who they represent. And we're going to be hearing from expert witnesses on this issue. And the members of Parliament who are here, who have been asked to decide the quality of their arguments, will be asked to make an assessment of each presentation and to score each presentation on a scale ranging from 1 to 10. We will later use these scores to decide which presenter has given the most convincing presentation, and also to decide which group was overall more persuasive than the other. All of us here on the jury are not decided on this issue. They are open to be convinced by our arguments. Because there are 4 members now, 4 presenters in each team, you will have 7 minutes per person to speak, a maximum of 7 minutes. The first speaker may talk a little bit longer because the first speaker will be asked also to discuss a bit what the group wants to do. You can speak less than 7 minutes, but if your presentation is shorter than 4 minutes, then you will be asked to remain on the stand for whatever time remains of the 4 minutes that you will speak. As you have read the rules, so you know this. So if you have only 2 minutes worth of content, then you will sit here in silence for another 2 minutes, because silence is also very useful at times. You may be interrupted during your speech, but only in case if you don't understand what you're saying. I would like to ask everyone to speak very clearly. And of course, as I have told you, introduce yourself. If for no other reason, because we need to write down your names, so that we can score them. So it is essential that for all of you that you speak very clearly, that you introduce yourselves. I also would like to remind all expert witnesses and advocates who are talking today that their presentation will be broadcast live to the citizenry of Piresia, so that they can know what is happening here. This is where it's being recorded and being live streamed into YouTube. So this is a very subtle reminder that the world knows what's going on here. So before we start, do we have any questions? No questions. Oh, I forgot one important thing. At the end, also, as you recall, you will each be asked to put one question to the other team. And each of you will also be required to respond to at least one question from the other teams. And we will try to keep that short. Try to keep your question within 30 seconds. Doesn't have to be just one sentence, it can be longer. You can explain the point of your question, but it should be more longer than 30 seconds, ideally. And your answers should probably not exceed 1 minute, or not much, right? Not much. Is there anybody who can take the time for us? You, speaker. You will take the time, okay. I think logically it should be the team that is arguing for the constitutional amendment. And the constitutional amendment, to remind everybody, would be to authorize taking the prisoner's blood, which will likely die. I think we can start. I would like the first speaker of the pro team to give us her presentation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to today's trial about the fate of our country and prisoner number 11591. My name is Rita Simula. I am the advocate representing the government and the only advocate in our team because unfortunately Bubs 21 has taken our other advocate who was supposed to be representing the citizens. He was doing research, talking to people, understanding what they think about the epidemic, and sadly he was infected in the process. So I hope that you will not forget that, although no one will be speaking directly for the citizens, we are for them. In the course of this trial, we will have 3 expert witnesses providing evidence in connection with our case. First, we will have a theologist who will explain to you how our situation would be seen in different religions. After that, a criminal psychologist will tell you how the society sees our problem and how prisoner number 11591 will most likely feel and act in the future. Our last speaker will be a medical expert who will explain to you the spread of the virus and the possibility of an antiseptic if we act now. So firstly, I would like to present to you our facts. We have an epidemic which not only threatens our people's lives, but is going to kill hundreds of thousands of them in a couple of months if we do not act soon enough. What is more, we have a tool to stop the epidemic and save the people's lives. And we, as the representative of the state, refer to the Constitution, Article 1.1. To respect and protect human dignity, it shall be the duty of all state authority. In the present situation, we have a solution to stop the catastrophe at the price of one human's life. Such a sacrifice would not only be permissible, but it would be a moral obligation to do so if it would save as many lives as it will. We can save the life of our people by sacrificing the life of one individual. We have an option to act and succeed, and this is much better than no option at all. Simply the fact that we are able to influence the outcome of the epidemic constitutes an obligation to act, to do our job and save the people. In such a case, deciding to do nothing...
I just need to interrupt you for 1 second. Not all members of the jury are aware of this, but one of the rules is not to read. You can use any notes you like, but do not read your presentation. So try to kind of combine speaking freely with using your notes, but reading doesn't make sense from the perspective of the text. You're doing very well, but except for the reading part. Okay.
So, as some believe, and as the opposition will most likely argue, it wouldn't be right to kill the prisoner because he has the right to live. But even if it means that he would sit in a jail cell most of his life. But would you say that it was acceptable not to save all those other innocent people? Don't they have a right to live? And this man, prisoner number 11591, is a convicted criminal who has already taken another person's life. He killed a man. And with this act, he showed his belief that people can decide about other people's lives. So if we would take his life in our own hands, it wouldn't be such a big crime because that's his opinion about the world, it's how he thinks. And then we could save lots of families from losing their beloved ones. We, as the representative of the state, have to decide what the necessary measures are to save our people. In the war, we will send troops into battle with the most likely outcome of losing a high number of our soldiers. As Orson Scott Card once said, we humans do, when the cause is sufficient, spend our lives. We throw ourselves onto the grenade to save our bodies in the foxhole. We rise out of the trenches and charge the entrenched enemy and die like maggots under a blowtorch. We strap bombs on our bodies and blow ourselves up in the midst of our enemies. We are, when the cause is sufficient, insane. So would you say it was morally wrong to send soldiers into battle because they might die? And our situation isn't that different, in fact. We are at war with this epidemic, and at the life of one soldier, we could save our country. Dear ladies and gentlemen, you are trusted to make the right decision. Sometimes sacrifices are inevitable, and both our theologist and our medical expert are going to tell you about sacrifices later on in the trial. Times can come when we have no choice but to give up one thing for another. We have to try and keep in mind the importance of our obligations, even if with the consequences of what we consider bad. Now is the time to choose the only solution to save our people. We certainly aren't the judges of human lives. Who are we to determine if one life is better or if it's worth more than another one? But it is clear that saving hundreds of thousands of people is better than just saving one. And we don't know where the balance or the borderline is, but we don't have to say it right now. But in this situation, this question is clearly answered. A man must be sacrificed now and again to provide for the next generation of man, as Emil Lau put it. This is a dilemma in which you may hesitate to decide, but you have to do the right thing for the sake of the community. If you seriously consider what values more, the life of one individual or the life of hundreds of thousands of our people, our citizens, our children, our grandchildren, there is no question what decision you have to make. Only right decision. And I thank you for your attention, and I would like to give the floor to our theologists.
I'm a theologist, like I said. My name is Perky. I would like to talk about three big monotheist religions, the Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Of course, there are other big religions in the world, but as we live in a Judeo-Christian society, these three are the main.
Can you slow down and speak up a bit? A bit slower and a bit louder, please. Thank you.
Okay. So both three have their religious texts. For the Christianity, there is the Bible. For the Jewish people, there is the Torah, and for the Islam people, there is the Quran. Interpretation of the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran, the Christianity stands closer to the Judaism and the Islam. Both two contains the 10 Commandments. For example, you shall not steal. The 6 Commandments contains the our case that you shall not murder. The prisoner broke this holy law, so it means that he committed a big sin and he have to get some punishment, and his judgment have to be different. Now I would like to talk a little bit about the Jewish religion. The Jewish religion says some things that that murdering is the consequence that someone else looking at someone else as he or she would be unimportant. But actually, God created us, so we are important, and we are useful. God created us according to God's own image. And the first message what we should have to understand that we have to respect each other. If God thinks that a person is useful and important, we have to think the same. The aim of our creation that we are useful and we should have to make our world better. God created also this prisoner, and if his 10 commandments said that we shall not murder, that the aim of his creation should be not that. Maybe he created this prisoner to stop this viral influence and to help the society. After his death, if the prisoner appears in front of the God, his judgment will be not the same if he stands there as a murderer or someone who helped the society. In the Islam religion, the value of a human being and the weight of murdering is fewer or lower. For example, in Egypt, when the religion was really strong, if a girl got sexual contact before marriage, his father has to kill them. In the Muslim religion, there are 7 big sins: polytheism, usury, magic, exploitation of orphans, cats, defamation of believer women, retreat meanwhile the advancement of the army, and murdering of a person under Allah's protection without profanity or hate cause. During the history of the religion, humanity saw a lot of victims. People prefer to sacrifice each other because of a really important and superior case. Later, laws and other kinds of rules started to control this habit. After the death of the victims, they become respected.
After the death of the what?
They become respected.
After the death of
The victims.
the victims. Okay.
In the Christian religion, there is a precedent which is really famous and respected. This is the story of Jesus. He sacrificed himself to redeem the sins of the humanity. I do not say that the prisoner is like Jesus, nor that he is the reincarnation of him. But Jesus is a kind of a hero for the religious people. And if this prisoner helped the society, maybe people will not judge or despise him. And perhaps it will, and perhaps we will respect him and remember from him as a hero. The religion looks positively to Jesus' sacrifice, so maybe it will look positively to the prisoners too. The goal justifies the means. By this, I understand that we cannot put the interest of one person before the interest of the society. The death of the prisoner was insignificant compared to the number of the victims that this virus demands. The prisoner would be maybe able to redeem his sins, stealing and murdering, if he sacrificed himself and stop this virus. And perhaps people will not look upon him as a murderer, and we will remember him as a hero. The best solution for this case maybe would be that if the prisoner sacrificed himself. But the problem is that this prisoner don't want to be died or be sacrificed. As a theologist, I can offer him to find a God. My view is that the best solution to save the society and stop this viral influence, the Bubs 21, is that to help the prisoner to find a God. And if we are successful in it, he will sacrifice himself. Thank you for your attention.
Let me introduce myself, my lord and my lady. My name is Piresian, and I am one of the leading psychologists in Piresian plague. I was asked to give my opinion about the case of prisoner number 11591. As we heard before from the lawyer, the prisoner had showed aggressive attitude, and his earlier job had been loosened because of it. He had many fights, but none of them ended with death, until this case. Murdering his neighbor was particularly brutal and premeditated. These facts are enough to say that there is no forgiveness for him. Who would be more suitable to save many people's lives than this man? So why should we kill this person? The biologist will explain to you that the virus can be spreading over several other countries, demanding millions of innocent lives. Can you imagine to let these many people die? Can you imagine to let these many people die instead of giving them the chance to stay alive? And this chance is at our disposal, right here, right now. With his blood, he will maintain the normal running of life, both in smaller communities and in the whole society of the affected countries. Like the theologist said, there is the fact if he was killed, he would become a national hero instead of a murderer. With sacrificing his life for the citizens, generations will remember him as a saint. Could we all imagine his life from his point of view? One thing is for sure, there is no chance to get out of prison. Now he is middle-aged, and the earliest time he would be released from prison is in 2053. During this time, he would lose every hope he had ever had, and every dream he had ever dreamed about. Believe me, it's not a life you want for yourself. Your personality becomes deformed, and you are no more able to have a normal relationship with other people. So if his son visited him regularly in prison, he would see his father in worse and worse condition. After all these years, the child would not be able to look at his father as he used to be, but only a stranger. Wouldn't even think such thoughts about the life of this little child who was not able to fit in the society. It is almost sure that after being released from prison, he wouldn't be able to fit in the society. Just imagine how much the world had changed in 30 years' time. He would find himself in a totally different world, with totally different political and social environment, technical developments, and so on. Not to mention his chance to live a valuable life and to be accepted by the society. Speaking about values, one of the most important things for him is religion. He wants to find peace in God, which is more likely to happen if he tries to make amends for his sins. His soul could not bear the burden of letting others die. As we know, he is a husband and a father as well. He has a family around him. I do not think he would hesitate to give his life for saving his child and his wife. And as a father, it is sure that he would think of other parents' feelings as well. He wouldn't be selfish this time. Can we all think of the world after BUB21 epidemic? I do not think that anyone seriously considered it. If most of the population of the country died, the rest of the people would change, they would get depressed, and nobody would want to give birth to children after this shock. This world would be very sad, miserable, and full of fears. And I consider this one of the biggest problems, because it will not only affect this generation, but the news one as well. Piresian plague would lose its strength and faith. It would also affect the whole world, because the economy would lose its power and the tourism would decline. The influence of the capital as a big city would almost disappear. So in conclusion, let me remind you the most important reason for killing prisoner number 11591. I do not think we can afford to save one life instead of hundreds of millions, particularly not if it's a prisoner released for 30 years of murder. It is natural that everybody is equal and every life has the same value and the chance to live and control it. There are several but very extreme situations when it's not us who can decide of our fortune, but it's not enough. Our fortune, but the others. We all think of our family, friends, and the closest people around us. Everybody needs to take care of the others, even if they are people we do not know, because it's not enough to take care of the people who is around us. That's how society works. So please, before you make the right decision, think of me, the strangers, the people on the streets, your friends, family, and yourself. What would you do? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And please welcome our lovely biologist.
Okay, so I would also like to welcome everyone to our debate, to our trial today. I am Perky, and I'm a biologist by profession, but I'm also interested in the ethical side of biology. So I will represent the bioethical perspective in my argumentation. Some may ask, what is the most important issue to all humans? Obviously, it is health and survival. But does it always depend on us? There are several diseases and epidemics which are beyond our scope, and Bubs-21 is one of them. So I would like to prove that the best solution would be to carry out a procedure which would draw his blood, thus allowing us to produce sufficient quantities of anti-Bubs-21 vaccine to save several thousands of lives. So as a biologist, I would like to clarify some characteristics, some facts about the virus that has also become known as the Piresian plague. So the incubation time is 1 to 2 days, but the actual illness can take up to 25 days. The fatality rate is incredibly high. It is 78%. The first wave was stopped in June, but which left 712 victims behind. But it is unstoppable, so it struck again on the 4th of August. Though it started in full overcrowded areas, Bubs-21 has appeared in all kinds of neighborhoods and international locations too. I think we all know that the virus is rapidly spreading, but can we stop it in time? Well, there is one person whose blood is appropriate to produce medicine from. We do not know every detail of the epidemic, but we have found a solution. And while we are hesitating, thousands of Piresian inhabitants and also numerous others are suffering and will probably die. So in general, a medical experiment does not cause any health damage to anyone, but unfortunately our case is an exception. Still, if we give it another thought, we have to admit that a successful experiment has plenty of benefits. Not only solving the actual problem, but also receiving further information on medicine, which we can use in other areas too. Finding the answer for human problems cannot happen without involving humans. That is the reason why experimenting on human beings is necessary for a medical progress. Our case could be part of medical progress, but until we cannot multiply the vaccine, we have to seek to get the maximum impact. So even if it would lead to losing a life. Okay, so sacrificing. That is a phenomenon which appears everywhere in human history, and there was not only one historical period when human sacrifice was widely accepted and expected. Mother Julia from the Opus spiritual family once said that sacrifice gives our life the strength to grow and develop. This statement refers to religion. However, it could be directly related to our topic, because biological facts justify that some animals sacrifice themselves for the larger group, thus supporting their community. And this is also true for some humans, which I find ethically appropriate and in some cases necessary. So if some of us has the predisposition to sacrifice for the larger good, then why shouldn't we require it? As our psychologist pointed out, the spread of the virus can have a rather unfortunate effect on our society. Those who survive cannot relax and feel safe. Losing their relatives and friends will make them crabby, and which evidently leads to problems in their health. So the lack of joy and happiness can also lead to destruction in some aspects. But so living in constant fear makes one depressed and unable to work and live. So this also underlines that community is of primary importance in human life. People cannot live without community, so community's interest should come first if the individuals want to live. Moving on to a more philosophical side of the topic, it is difficult to decide whether the scientific insights negate moral standards or even create their own ones. I find it important to be faithful to some traditional accounts of morality, because they were created to make our world work right. We all know that one must not steal, lie, or kill. The aim of these rules is to control people and prevent them from causing conflict in society. But when one person is opposed to thousands of others, then the situation requires a new perspective in philosophy. And we have our prisoner, who is guilty for several crimes, and he even took a life away. So it is legitimate to ask why we should not be allowed to take his life away in return. Sometimes community should come first, not the rights of the individual, as it was mentioned by the previous speakers. Our society is composed of individuals, but it cannot work without cooperation and public decisions. And as I have already claimed, in some cases, community requires sacrifice. The choice is ours. We can have a society ruined by a cruel epidemic, or we can save a country and prevent the spreading in other locations. I know which one I'm opting for, but all in all, I believe that utilizing one person's blood to produce medicine for the Republic of Piresia and to enable thousands of people to survive is a rational decision. Moreover, it would save our society and also develop the medical studies with the help of which we could support our future. Thank you for your attention.
One minute break for us here.
Okay. Then thank you very much for the presentation of the pro group. And we would be delighted to hear about the counter arguments from the first speaker of the counter group. Thank you.
So, welcome everyone. My name is Mate. Please allow me to introduce ourselves a bit. What are our main goals and what are we going to argue for or against in this case? So, our group consists of 4 people. Mate will be he will be a constitutional rights expert. Peter is a biologist and he will be basically looking at the scientific side of the virus. And then Peter is the advocate of prisoner one of the prisoner. Miklos, sorry. So I'm also an advocate. I'm an advocate for various civil rights groups and constitutional rights groups. So our situation was a bit hard because we cannot argue from the feeling side of things. We have to take the facts. And I think we should consider the Constitution as a social contract. And if we consider it as that, changing the Constitution such in a drastic way so quickly could create a precedent for other such changes. And I think the Constitution's power basically comes from its long-standingness and importance, and that everyone accepts it. So I would like to say that such a change would trigger more changes, and after all, the Constitution would lose its meaning or importance at the end of the sequence. Another thing I want to talk about is human rights, and why shouldn't we treat him as a guilty man? He killed the people, yeah. He got his sentence for it, and he's currently serving it. So there is no reason for us to consider him as a man that basically still has something to be judged on. He should be an innocent man in our eyes because he already got his suspension. Also, legally, this case, if judged that we kill this man, would create a precedent for future cases where we simply just kill people because they are not sympathetic to us or something, or they have done something wrong to us. So basically, if we don't change the amendment, I think it would show our communities and countries basically improvement in the recent decades or something, as our society improved over several years, that we are respecting the human life much more than we used to in the Middle Ages or something. Also, another thing I want to point out is that I think the most democratic solution in this case would be a referendum where the people could vote on this situation. I think a democracy's best way to act or decide on is such a referendum where everyone could show their opinion on the topic. It would allow us to see what people think, and they are what really matter in this case, because it's all about their lives and the prisoner 11591's life. So, also I would like to point out a few things that the other group said and I do not agree with, such as the vaccine as a really quick solution to our problems. Bubs 21 is a pretty fast virus in a way that it spreads fast and kills fast. If we want to take our time to develop a vaccine and we would like to make sure obviously that it has no side effects and such, then it will take a really long time. And I think I asked various experts in this topic, biologists for example, and they said 8 months for a vaccine is completely considerable. Considerable. Like for developing a vaccine, 18 months seems to be like a realistic time. So, if we consider that the first wave of Bubs 21 came in August, I think, and the second wave is coming right now, then we should see that 8 or 10 months from now, we can't do anything with the vaccine. It just has no effect whatsoever after all, because the people that would be affected by then would be already died, most likely. So that would be my points for now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Welcome everyone. My name is Mate Foldi, and I will represent some groups which main task is to defend the human rights and the Constitution. And I will also convince that the murder is morally wrong. So, first of all, human rights. What are the human rights? The human rights main idea, or the main of the human rights, is to defend people and give them rights. So, and these rights exist from the because you are a human being. And I will cite some points from this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was created in 1948 after the Second World War. So the third point is the right to life. It exists because you are human and you have the right to life. And this man had not been convicted to death. Actually, he had been convicted to 30 years in prison, but he hadn't been sentenced to death. The seventh point says that we are all protected by the law. And as I mentioned, this man had not been sentenced to death, so we have not right to kill him. The 30th point is the main point, I think. It said that nobody can take away these rights from us. These rights are really important, and they exist to defend us and defend this man, because he's a person. However, he is in prison, but he is a person. I will please. I have small situation in the street. What I want to show you. This situation is that you are walking in the street and you see a fat man in the street, and you can think that this what we want to do now is connecting to the utilitarianism. What is utilitarianism? First of all, utilitarianism is a theory which main idea is to generate the greatest good for the greatest number of people, or maximizing the total benefits and reducing suffering of the negatives. If we follow this, we should think that we have to kill this man because it will generate the bigger good for the society. But let me to continue this situation. You see this fat man, this rich company boss walking in the street, and you know, I don't know how, but say that you know that this man will fire thousands of people tomorrow. You know it. And if you kill this man, you will save the thousands of men, because it is just his own opinion, and they won't be the company won't fire these men if he dies. So you follow the utilitarianism, you think that, but actually it's not true, because the utilitarianism takes into consideration that the people's fear. The people fear because you can kill them if it generates a bigger good. because we followed it. And it is the same situation with the prisoner, with this man. Because we want to kill this man for society, and we killed the rich man for society, but it made a legal uncertainty, and people, and I think it, as Matthew mentioned, it could make bad precedents to the future. I think it's really a complicated situation, actually, but we have to mention that this man is not created to die. I think it's really important to say that. Actually, I think that's it, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
So first, let me introduce myself. I'm Peter, and I'm the scientific expert of our team, and I will argue about the thoughtless decision of killing this person to get the extraction of his blood. In the case scenario, it is said that the Bubs 21 is spreading fast, even they were forced to slow it down. The virus spread was accelerating, so if you get the extraction from the prisoner's blood, what is the pledge that it will be enough to stop this spread or to slow down the disease? If prisoner number 11991 died, there is no source to get the extraction from when the disease is on its zenith. And at that point, if scientists found another human, will we kill them too? What if this person was someone close to you? What is the difference between the two cases? Nothing, because they are both human beings and we should murder none of them. Scientists and mainly physicians cannot kill someone, as it is stated in the Hippocratic Oath. I will give no deadly medicine to anyone if asked nor suggest any such counsel. They must have taken the oath, as it is part of being physician. Therefore, they should not even think about kill someone for medical treatment, and first think about other solutions, as the opposing's point was there. The physicians should not hesitate about killing this prisoner and getting the extraction from his blood. It has a reason. The oath which reference for 2 millenniums has the face, because it is not morally allowable to kill someone for any medical cause, and it's been unquestionable since the dawn of medical sciences. Developed animals, even the greatest need of prey, do not harm any of their own species. So the most developed animal of them all, the human, should not harm anyone from its own race, and this is the attribute that differentiates us from beastly animals. As the case study stated, there were successful attempts of slowing down Bubs 21, and physicians are getting better at treating the disease, and most cases were partially separated. Therefore, and most cases were partially separated.
Okay, isolated, yeah.
Okay. And there were, therefore, there are other means of slowing down disease than just getting the extraction from this person. So why would we choose the solution while we have to kill someone? Why would we choose the most brutal and inhuman solution over the solutions that we used for all of diseases throughout the last centuries? So summed up, my point is if it is that of a great idea to use a person to create an extraction from his blood, then why would you choose to kill this person to get the extraction? And thank you for your attention, and please welcome the coach and last advocate.
Welcome. My name is Perky. I am the advocate who represents prisoner Annal 11591. I am against the amendment, and I'm going to argue why it would be right to let prisoner Annal 11591 alive. Before I begin my reasoning, please help me to see the real cause of our presence. I assume, but rather trust, that our common goal is nothing more than the saving of humanity. I hope you all agree with this. And if this is true, then soon everyone will understand my position, in which I claim that it is not the death of the convicted prisoner, but on the contrary, we are only able to solve this threatens mankind problem by protecting this prisoner life. Let me ask you a question. What do you think about the person who eats the golden goose because he's hungry, despite the fact that he's fully aware of its extraordinary ability? We are on the same page, aren't we? Anyone who does that is extremely silly, even if he's held in high esteem. As the golden egg-laying hens, similarly my client also keeps a treasure in his belly. And I can say without any exaggeration that my client's blood is none other than the elixir of life. Would it be a wise decision if we decided about a person's life who can change us as a hungry man to a particular hen? If we take 2 pints of blood from a man, he dies instantly. But if we think so early, we can take 100 pints of blood and he will still survive. While this trial is going on, my client is sitting in his cell. Instead of giving 2 pints of blood, then reforming agents and feeding well would produce 2 pints of blood again, then again, and again, 2 pints of blood, and this amount he would be able to produce as long as his life. But if we take his life and the blood as well, who can guarantee from the present people that the little taken 5 pints of blood have no risk, have no threat? I understand, meantime, the risk of infection, the risk from transport and serum preparation, not to mention the possibility of a force majeure situation. At this moment, the most important man here is my client, because his body is able to produce antibodies against the dangerous virus. He's a hen which lays gold eggs. Finally, let me elaborate on a basic example that is similar to this case. There are lots of transplant surgeons today, and they have obviously patients with great need for organ transplant in order to survive. But one needs a liver, one needs a kidney, and so on. But if we have no donor, would the honorable prosecutor kill a healthy person with the intention of saving, let's suppose, 5 patients? It could be right to let 5 patients die with the intention of. It could be right to let 5 patients die, even if we can kill 1 person instead, according to the present situation. And the case is the same. We have a donor, a prisoner, and there are patients with great need for organ transplant for his blood. So, as I mentioned, he's a hen which lays gold eggs. And with this approach that we only look the benefits of the majority, it will lead to anarchy, because I have to mention that everybody has a different point of view And if we change the law to be able to shape the majority to perfect majority, and change the law to be able to kill this prisoner, from that point I will be able to go outside and kill randomly a health person with the intention of saving more lives. So I would like to ask, because Flora mentioned not to refer to this prisoner as a bad person or a good person, because he was convicted before and he got his penalty already. This question is not about whether this person is a guilty or innocent person. So, finally, let me tell you our personal point of view. We don't want to save our planet and not the humanity, but on the contrary, the sober common thinking, if you have enough of it left on this planet, just as it is to save the human race. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, then we will go on to the question period. We're going to move from one group to another. One question from this group, one question from the other group, and responses immediately. We're going to start, because the program started before, we're going to start with the con group with their question. They can go first with their question. One of you select one of yourselves who will start. You don't care about the order, but each of you will take it in succession. You need a are you ready, or you can prepare for it? Okay, are you having some questions? Okay, they have a better idea. We will give you 10 minutes to prepare your questions. In the meanwhile, we will discuss what we saw here. Okay? Each of you needs to ask one, and each of you needs to answer one.
Jesus Christ. Szerintem most aki alacsonyabb, és nem tudom, igazából azt mondom, hogy nem most oké, hogy nem 100%-ig sikerülni fognak, oké, de hogyha még tovább akarják, azt még több, ami biztos, az nyilván tudnak halni. Aztán ezt teheted el, hogy lesznek felszülések, hogy ilyenek van, de az biztos, hogy meg tudnak halni. Ez ilyen, sokat emlékszik. Úgyhogy ha jól azt mondta, amilyen, hogy nincs jövök el, nem meg egyébként ez a fejlesztő, meg ez a pasi, meg a húzani. Mert ugye ez a pasi, ő sem lehetett figyelni annak a jövőit, akik nem lehetett. És nekünk miért kéne az ő jövőit?
értetek, vagy nem lehet még ezt a várost, és akkor később fogom akarják lebombázni, akkor meg tudnak olyan tenni, így a explóziónál. És kérdezem, hogy le is elmehetni végig. És én nem tudom, hogy én tudom a másik világháború, csak ezt az egyet egyszer akkor meséltem. Nem, hát az tudod, hogy egyet mondani, hogy biztos kérdés is. Jó, hogy érzem magam, mert féltek, hogy nem tudok akkor mi nem kérdés, akkor is így cselekedtek, és végül megmondtam, hogy igen, azért vele mondtam, hogy ilyet nem tudok pontosan mondani, hogy hasonló lesz. Várj, mit mondasz? Én? Én azt mondom, hogy soha nekem más opciókat mondani, hogy nem csináljuk, hogyha ezt ügyelni. Én itt akarsz így? Hogy te például azt kérdezted tőlük, hogy vannak-e más jelentőségek, és akkor ne, ez hagyjál, én csak a saját féltesz. Hogy mikor lassan van az is dolgok, az egész is az egy egyben. Ezért jön. És feljutom. Nekem most mondom? Ez ennyi. Tell us any historical example can you tell us a historical example which is similar to the situation, which is similar to our situation, similar to that situation, which is similar to this situation? Yeah, it's semmiben, de alapnak. Anyway, for weddings, and the people, and then they decide the situation. Oh yeah, the situation can the situation becomes I can. That situation also very important. Csak nem is mondom ezt, csak azt, hogy a csőség Can you tell us a historical example which is similar to this situation? Because the situation we have already told is a theory. Because the situation which you have already told is a theory. Can you tell us any example which is similar to the situation of
Ez a csapat szellem, te kész.
Nem, mindig elhozzá, és mindig így tartják.
Most mi?
Jó, ez a személytelző Joginek van vételünk, van sajnos szállít kérdések.
És személyhez szólnak?
Nem, nem,
Meg is állítjuk,
amúgy szerintem azt, hogy megbeszélhetjük, hogy kiválaszol.
Hát meg hogy mit válaszolunk.
De hiszem, hogy már személyek. Ja, jó. Péter, olyan ez.
az elérhető a kettős
Ja.
Csúnyán már.
Nagyon meglepő, hogy jó.
Micsoda?
Nagyon durván kijöttünk, hogy kellene.
Azt nézem, azt tudod, mi? Mi az? Ja. És szóval szeretem, hogy az ember. És csak azért nem elég.
Hát, hogy nincs.
Egy lapok előtt. Egy nap. Te úgy látod, hogy mindenki ugyanisebb hányszor. És olyan megszűnnek, hogy megnyitsz.
Mennyi időt elérünk?
Most egyébként.
Durván órája.
10 perc.
Ja.
15.
Egyébként most tudják elkezdeni a 16-ból kezdve talán.
Nem, most van.
Hát, akkor ott is.
Négy.
Mit csinálok?
Egyébként nagyon durva, hogy és úgy érzem, hogy azt és tudod, mi miatt két sárta.
Egyébként a úgy van, másik évek után.
Nekem is most már fáradt. Amúgy szólok, hogy még ez is színe. Csak mondom.
Nem volt.
Szóval a színen, ezért mondjuk, és autós azt mondom. Tényleg?
Nézd vissza! Egy képelvasárolás.
Biztos, hogy
És egy bozomnak az,
Viszont annál jobb kajak.
hát tényleg a pillanatban vannak már elfogyott.
Olyan jó, aki az nagyon meg, és akkor kaját
De már jó a hangulat.
azok mennyire a lakosságok
Olyan pár hogy nyelv.
Mondozom, és
Ölle a busznak.
annyira nem
Igen.
Én szörfáltalak otthon, mert
ilyen zsolószínek.
Nekem egy
lássuk meg, hogy úgy beszélségben.
megy viccsen.
That is not. So anyway.
Ott lesz a srác, az ötből.
Nem.
Először hogy voltam, meg ügyeztem.
Hol?
Mindesetre veszik.
Fölveszik csak.
Neri?
Igen. Fölveszik, aztán megvegyek és fölrakják a másik központban.
Fú,
Az még jobb lesz.
azt nem akarom.
Valami tényleg. Igen,
Szóval egy végig, aztán nem nézik talán meg.
meg is tegyen.
Szerintem az annak volt jó gyorság.
Egyébként nem hogy
Remélem, hogy megkapszolok.
Egyébként olvasod, tehát látszom, hogy nagyon nem azt mondja, hogy folyton beszéltek, az ugye, csak az volt, hogy olvasás, hogy folyton beszéltek.
Meg itt. Szerintem nem egy volt.
Az ott van, hogy ketten ugyanarról beszéltek. Vagy bizony, hogy is azért nem. Vagy egy kicsit felülöttem, hogy mondani. Azért nem, lehet középottál, nem ki megmondjuk. Hát mondom, biztos, hát nyilván. A középpontban jötték
Vannak vagyok. Én vagyok olyan, ami
Úgy lehet. Van, más tudok. Ezt kivágják, tudnak ezt.
tényleg is egy...
Általános kultúra, tanítás, és... És így visszamegyek majd a magam, és mit fogok ezért kicsak.
Jó kérdés.
Féljelek. De igazából azt mondom, hogy egy kajátszódik eltörletek, nem a kérdéseket.
Látszképp abban ugottál.
Jó, onnan is lehet a kajákat. Jöttek a szállítát fölöttem. Van biztonsági szállítás. Milyen biztonsági felvétel, vissza tudjuk nézni. Én látszom, hogy a lapot, és nem kivész látni. Azt viszont nem látják, hogy ez egy ház.
Én nem tudom, hogy a irányára, de valami nagyon
Nem született.
egy nagyon ritkán támadnány, tehát hogy ilyen négyet, és így nem látok semmit, de könyvedik annyira.
És a fényesztőzni. Szóval...
Nem lehet kinyilatni ezen a...
De én is akarok.
És akkor lassan a választás.
Ja, majd főleg valamennyire kezdődik. Ja.
Én is nem látják a Bár ők ne tennék meg azt, hogy mi lényeg szíves. Amíg mi beszélsz.
Jó.
Én beszélek.
És ki ezt is megnézem.
Ennyi volt. Leülhettek egyesni. Én azt sem tudom, hogy mi az, aki kettő. Ja, ilyen nincs.
Aztán a másik zsári, Prómik, az Andris,
Milyen
meg
alatt
a
ilyet, amikor mondtam, hogy...
Nes zsári, milyen a Somajrári, meg még a Tamásos. A maradt.
Somaj nagyon tényleg, most is mindent végig mondjuk neki egy ilyenről, az rögtön megcáfoltam ki.
Azt fog kipróbálni 2 percig, azt le kell állítani.
Azt le kell azt 13 percig le kell Megnézd mondjuk, hogy komment tanálom. Ott nincs a kamerát, és akkor nem látja.
Fölé nem próbáltam.
De ez már ide egész a videót inkább oda viszonyítsuk a rendezéseket a videóinkat.
Nem látszik benne, pont a fejem tudja látszik, az az.
Nézzük a benne, és azon meg ilyen 8 film olyan, úgy tudom, amennyit. Kedvencem. Volt a...
Ezért Egy. De ez nincs minimum.
Hát én ezt 2-3 írtam meg ezt. Ma 2-3 írtam meg. Képzeljük a pályáztatás,
Okay, thank you very much for your patience. We are not going to tell you what the score is yet, or who's ahead, but we can tell you that it's extremely close between the two groups. So the difference between your groups is so close that the question and answer period will probably decide who wins. Was that clear what I said? Okay, so we're going to be alternating the questions, but we'll start with the con group because they went last.
So, what would you do if the prisoners blood wouldn't be enough to slow down the disease as it's fastly accelerating, in the case scenario?
Was the question clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to go?
We can do more blood, so we can with different types of bacteria. We can do bigger quality from his blood, so we have more chance to try.
With different types of what?
Different, more chance to try to do the vaccine.
By drawing the blood?
Yes.
Okay.
And later, maybe there will be some volunteers who would give us their lives just to save the others, because then later on we could have vaccines from their blood and not from just the prisoner.
Okay, if we want to do it again, so one person responds, you can discuss, you can advise the person who's going to respond before she speaks, but we will, so it's fine now because we didn't make this clear. So one person responds and you can discuss the answers between the group, so you can give advice to the person who is now. Okay, and then we move on to a question from this side.
Okay, so as Peter has mentioned, that there are other solutions for our problem. Well, what other solutions would you recommend?
One solution is one other solution would be the one mentioned in the case scenario, like as it mentioned, physicians were able to treat the Bubs 21 with high rates, and most cases were fastly separated. And other solution would be to use of serums, blood serums. It's really the blood serum is used everywhere because it can be, as you mentioned, the question for our previous in the answer to our previous question, blood serum can be created from anyone who has measured immunity, and it has a great rate of reproduction without knowing these individuals.
Okay, thank you. So that's your question again.
Yeah. So would you like the same if it would be about one of your relevant or loved ones? This is
Nyugodtan csak kérdeztem. Sorry. Yeah.
So, if it would be one of my family members, well, it will be actually a really hard situation. But of course, I have other family members, and for them, I would sacrifice one of them to save the others.
So you mentioned that the prisoner has the right to live, and we represent the government, which stands for the people. So we have to protect the people, and only the people have the right to live. So we have to do whatever it takes to protect them, and not just one individual.
But won't we become a murderer if he wouldn't we become a murderer if he killed a person? Sorry, what was the question?
But both the people have the right to live, and we have to protect their rights because we stand for the people. And sacrificing one individual, by sacrificing one individual, we could protect the people.
And so, but to comment on what you first said is that the government is responsible for it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and you want to kill a person. So to save more. And you want to look what is better for the majority. So wouldn't you become a murderer if you killed this person, sacrificed person? But as I mentioned in my presentation, it's this approach that we look at the benefits of the majority. Anyone will be able to kill anybody with the intention of saving more lives. So, won't there be an anarchy or something? Because people are going to kill indiscriminately. For example, anxious mothers who have kids, and yeah, as I alluded to, kids with great use for power. Yeah, anxious mothers would go outside and kill people. So wouldn't there be a war or some kind?
Can you answer?
no, these are rhetorical questions, I would imagine. But actually, what I would suggest that if in your next response you can kind of make a comment about this. Don't focus your next response on this, but you can make a comment about this. But we're not going to go back and forth because it will take too long.
Okay, so
one sentence because
I just wanted to ask.
Oh, it's your turn to ask. I'm sorry. Okay.
So, who has the right to decide to let somebody alive or not?
Who has the right to decide?
To let somebody alive or
so
not?
To make a decision of life and death. Okay.
The people vote for the people who is in the government now. So the government job to decide in questions like this, like in extreme situation, the government who has to decide, because the people vote for them to decide instead of the people. Because
This is your last question, I think, is it?
yes. Can you tell us an historical example which is similar to this situation? Because the situation you have already told us is just a theory.
Was the question clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the question again?
Can you say it again?
Can you say us a situation or a historical example which is very similar to this situation? Because the situation you have told us is just a theory.
Why do you think that? I'm not sure I myself clear on this question. And why do you think this question is a theory?
Math, they have no facts. They just guessing. If we don't kill a person, maybe there will be something which help us to save these people.
I see. Okay, I think that's more clear. Guys, the question has become clearer. So the argument that you have made is that if you don't sacrifice this human being, then somehow humanity will be saved. Can you give us, which is, the ladies argue that this is just a theory. Could you give us an example from history where this has actually happened, that some solution came about? Is that a fair representation of the system? Gentlemen, you need to come to a decision.
To resolve this situation, the vaccines, as we mentioned, could resolve this problem as some other cases, or other ills. For example, the Black Death.
You have one more sentence if you want to add. You don't want to. Okay. Then your last question.
As you mentioned that it was created to die, and I would like to ask you that how do you know that the prisoner believes in God? So you mentioned that God created this man to die for the people, but how do you know that this man believes in God?
Ready? Yeah, okay.
So our theologist has offered her help to help prisoner number whatever believe in God, so that he can also see how God created him in order to see look at people. And even if he wouldn't believe in God, there are a lot of other causes why he should sacrifice.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm sorry, I said last question, but you actually have one question left. So there's one last.
Marcus said that we are all protected by laws, but what's your guarantee that now the prisoner, when he released, he will not kill another person and broken the law again?
Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies?
Obviously, there is no guarantee for that, but everyone has a right to have a restart after a bad decision and try to make it good after, or try to make it look better afterwards when we look back at it. For example, we can do something really useful for the community afterwards. We don't know that too. It can happen. And also there is significant evidence that many people changed during their time in jail, and they became a great part of our communities and the country.
I would say no. This is just have to let this end. Thank you very much for your questions and answers. So how are we going to do this now? Take a minute to collect the scores. Okay, yes, for 5 more minutes. But we were very good. Yes, for 5 more minutes, and then we will tell you the scores.
Nem, aztán most a konfliktálom a jó, így is nem, hát igen, és egy szélszólatosan beszélni, de jó is elmászanos, úgyhogy nem találkozom, de megérjük, hogy így teszi a sok érettségem, nem tudom, de csak így van mindenki. Nem szeretném azt, hogy titeket már így átvettek, akkor középen. Nem, mert nekünk beszélni, hogy az összesíteni értékesíteni, átszem ezt el. Ahogy kezdjük, és még mindegy, az alapján meg
Már most már István mezei út, de azt mondjuk István út, és így.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your patience. So first of all, I'd like to say that we had a very difficult time to make a decision because both groups gave a very good performance. I think they all agree on that. And we have, based on the scores, made two. Yeah, we have two prizes, one for the group and one for the best individual among the presentations that we saw. And it is really key that the differences were very small. I think what is the exact score?
It's 40.46 and 42.1.
So you can see that it is extremely close. And what we wanted to say is that all of us were very impressed by how well the girls coordinated both their presentations. It was obvious that you discussed among each other and that you knew what the others were going to say, and we very much like that. For the boys, it was, I think, what came across that struck me of this is that you were very good on your feet. You reacted reasonably well on two things as they came up. So, and on the whole, a very slight advantage in our evaluation came to the gentlemen, to the group, to the con group. But it was a very, and I think for all of you, it was a very extremely good effort, and we were all very impressed by all the presentations here. A very slight advantage to this side, the con group. And the best presentation on average, and all of you were, again, very close in terms of your grade, but it was Mate was received the highest score overall. And then the group prize as well. It's enjoy the group prize.
I would like to congratulate you guys.
But again, this is really important. This was a very, very good debate, and it was a very close result. So it was all a great job. Okay, thank you very much, and I have the good news that it's for you. It's the weekend, so enjoy. Thank you very much for coming.
Hát ez milyen volt? Mennyit volt? Ez az. Ez azért... Ez olyan ilyen. És
Ez már át le.